call to order this regular meeting of Pickens County School Board.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Rock, do you have any agenda changes or additions? I do not.
I'd make a motion to be approved agenda as written.
Second. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Madam Chairman, I'd like to certify that personnel matters discussed in the closed meetings section 2.2-3711A.
Second. Yes.
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 We don't need one written, that is all. Have a motion to make a motion.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yeah. Clark, and
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having us here tonight. We just wanted to go through a little bit of the instructional highlights that are happening at Leary High School for this school year. So we're looking at chronic absenteeism, of course, is one of every school's goals this year. And so where are we? In 2022, 2023, we were at a level 3, 32%. When we looked at numbers as of March 19th, if I could cut it off right there, we would be at 13%. Our numbers might look a little different than some that Ms. Ryman will put out there because we are looking strictly at the 17-day mark. Where are we student-wise with 17 days? If you look at that breakdown right now, that 13% of our students, 6 of those students are on chins, which means they're being court-ordered to come to school, but still not coming to school. 10 of them are due to disciplinary actions that has put them out of school. 14 have reached the age of 18, and once they reach the age of 18, we don't have a lot of leverage with them. 13 of them, as we've sat down and looked at them, have other items that are going on, whether it's health concerns, diabetes, other health depression, and then also temporary housing, anxiety, things that have all been identified to us. And then 7 are just various reasons that we get when we talk with them. What are we doing with those 13% right now, or what have we done? We are consistently holding attendance meetings. We're changing their schedules. We're providing fidgets, quiet time, quiet spaces, extra support through Bulldog time. And that might be assigned by a teacher or it's assigned by one of us because we review grades weekly and then assign them to get that extra support to help them get in a smaller setting. We're doing after-school tutoring. We have mentors in place, and we're trying to get them connected to activities and extracurriculars or clubs. So we're really trying to focus in on that. So
Okay, for our next slide, chronic absenteeism, what are we doing? First thing on our list is we've got a watch list of about, last count, about 100 to 105, 107 students that are right on the bubble of being chronically absent. So they flutter in between 10 days and 16 days. So to target those students, to keep us as close to our 13% as possible, we're making daily phone calls to those families. We also hold weekly attendance meetings every Tuesday with the attendance team. And then also, like Ms. Clark just said, to provide additional support for grades that are falling because of absenteeism. We assign Bulldog time. And we also have some students who are working with community mentors. We've paired them up together, and that seems to be going pretty good right now. We have also held 2 major community events. One of them was the LHS Thanksgiving Family Affair. That was back in November. And that was a joint effort with quite a few of us at the school. We had PACA and our SRO teamed up together to give a presentation to families about what look-fors, what types of things to look for regarding alcohol use, vaping, things of those sort. We also provided, at that event, we provided a full course Thanksgiving meal to those to the families that came. And so besides the presentation by PACA and the SRO, we had members of the Free Indeed group that came and talked about their experiences, just showing like what can happen when students get off track. And we gave prizes at that event. We had some of our clubs participate, and they did a cooking class with the students while we did other activities with the parents. And then we also gave a tour of our care closet that night as well. That event was not as well attended as we had hoped it would be. We had a lot of interest in it. We had about 80 families signed up, but on the night of the event, we had about 6 families that came. So it was very beneficial to the 6 that came, but that one was not as well attended as we had hoped. However, for our other one, donkey basketball in March, was very well attended. We had roughly 700 people visit. And so both of these events were designed to get families into the schools. So for our donkey basketball, we had 6 teams, 4 student teams, an SRO team, and then a faculty and staff team. We do have some pictures of that coming up. So if we want to go ahead and move to our next slide, the next 4 that I have on there, I've got pictures or a slide of some sort that go with it. So I'll continue this slide, but with visuals for you guys to see. So for this one, this is our student spotlight. So we are encouraging teachers to make positive contacts to families, at least 2 per week is what we're hoping. Sometimes that becomes 1 per week, and then sometimes we get wrapped up in other things and they don't happen all the time. So these are forms that are carbon copies and they go home to families. So 1 copy will go to the student, 1 copy will be mailed to the parent, and then the other copy comes to Ms. Clark and I, and we keep a running list of which students have earned a student spotlight of Way to Be Awesome. Okay, for our next slide. This is the student incentive that we came up with. So Ms. Clark and I worked on this over the last summer, and we came up with a system to incorporate all the major things that we thought were important. So discipline, attendance, grades, all of those things are included in this. And what we did was, if you kind of glance through our list there, they get increasingly difficult to earn. So they're a student incentive card, kind of off of the idea of like the discount cards that we would give to a organization would sell. So the first one was pretty easy. Lots of students got that. We had roughly 490 students who got that card. That was pretty easy. That was at our 4-week mark. Then for the bronze card, our numbers went down a little bit. We ended up with about 350 or so. And then the silver card, about 250. And so our third 9 weeks just ended, so we're going to the gold card here pretty soon, right after spring break. And then for the end of the year card, we'll do that just a little bit before the end of the year. But we've got events like a field day planned for that. But you have to have earned 2 of the bronze, silver, or gold ones in order to be eligible for the end of the year one. So students have seemed to like those. They enjoy the snacks and drinks. That's that's two of the options on there. So they bring us on designated days, they bring us their card, we check them off, give them their snack and their drink. We've also paired up with some community businesses. El Amigo has offered a 15% off if a student comes and shows the card. And then we also have a partnership with Flatsies on that as well. And then we've included on the card some academic incentives. we can see what we can do. Okay, for our next slide, we've got some pictures. So in the top left corner, that is a sample of the Way to Be Awesome forms, how we put that information out on social media. So we list the student's name, and then we've got the criteria listed at the top. The picture on the bottom left, that's a couple of shots in our kindness t-shirts from, I believe that was February, if I remember correctly. We have also offered some free admission to athletic events for students to try to get them more involved in the school community. So those events, we offered a free entry to students for the football game, one of our football games, free entry on the Paige Luray basketball game, and then also for the state quarterfinal basketball game that we hosted.
Oh, nice.
So the top right corner is a picture of one of our student sections. Bottom middle, that's representative of one of our extracurricular groups, that's our choir. And then bottom right, that is the Thanksgiving family affair we talked about, where they're doing a cooking class for the students that night. Okay, for our next slide, we also did a representation of 95% attendance or better, and then push this out on social media as a way to recognize our students who have 95% attendance or better. Okay. For our next slide, we've got top left, that is Deputy Beam. He helped with our presentation for the Thanksgiving family event. On the stage behind him, you can see the bags of Thanksgiving food that we had. And the ones that we didn't give away that night, we donated. And then we've also got some other extracurricular pictures here. The far right at the top, that is our dual enrolled English and book club combo group who went to a Shakespeare play. We've got the marching band, FFA, forensics, and bottom left is a picture of a student game, one of our pep rallies. And on the next slide, we've got top left is our regional championship over in Winchester. We've got our track team represented. We also have SCA leadership. A picture bottom right from orientation, where our families came in for a presentation there. And then bottom left is one of our events that the SCA organized. It was our Valentine's Sweethearts? Singles and Sweethearts, that's what it was called, yes. And then our next slide, we've got some donkey basketball pictures.
And I will
Quite
say,
a few of
wasn't
those.
just about the basketball, we had Paca there as well. And we also had SCA put on sort of like pep rallies in the midst of each game. And so every kid got to come down out of the stands and participate in games. So our next indicator that we had said we needed to work on at the high school level was our College Career and Civic Readiness Index. Don't ask me to say that again. I had to write it down. So in 2022, 2023, it was 82%. And we all sort of went, whoa, what happened there? 2023 and 2024, we're anticipating 89%, which puts us back in that level 1 category. We found some things as we reviewed our cohort data that we needed to correct and put back in through the system, a system glitch somewhere along the way. But we also realized it's only looking at CTE. And so we have lots of students that don't necessarily take CTE classes. They're visual arts, they're performing arts, they are foreign language, and that's where they're getting their sequentials from. So now we're starting to look at activities, possibly classes that we could catch that group of students, that we could go ahead and get them in that indicator. Possibly looking at changing how our senior project looks at the end of the year to make that more community-based. So a service learning project that sort of checks the box for everybody at that senior level. But then we're also continue monitoring. That's another step we've added. We have what we call our SOL tracking review tracking sheet, and it's massive. It's from year to year to year. And so every student gets tracked on SOL data, CTE credentials that they've passed, where their sequentials are, and what do they need. And we get it hot. It's color coded. It gets a little scary. I get a little overboard sometimes with my color coding. So we know from year to year what student needs what. So as we're planning and scheduling, which is happening now, we're starting to look at, okay, what else do we need to offer students so that we can change this? So as you can see in 2022, 2023, we were headed in the right direction. We were all greens across the board for SOLs, and we were very excited about that. But we also knew our SPED group needed to increase. So if you look down at the bottom there, semester 1, you'll see we're holding in our SOLs. Our SPED data is still about the same. However, we know that the majority of our SPED and math will take it in this semester because we offer a class that supports those students that's broken down into 2 sections, so it slows that material down. So we're anticipating that number to increase. English, I know, looks a little like, whoa, what happened there? But it was only 7 kids. It's a little hard to get good data from 7 students. The majority of those will come in second semester. Okay, so we know that we're on the right track. We've been meeting, doing all-in-one tutoring. We've begun that session and focusing in on reading and writing and math to make sure that we're hitting those marks. We identified students based on previous SOL scores or current data sets that we're doing right now with CIP assessments. And so then those students were invited and they're being worked with at their grade level, and then also catching up on some of the things that build into that current grade level so they're ready for that test as it comes up.
We're also working on remediation and recoveries. So we evaluate after we give our SOL tests. Any student that did not pass and was not eligible to retake, we try to get them into the next testing session. So if they failed in the fall, we try to get them in the spring so that they can possibly be a recovery for us, or they can get the credit themselves the next testing session. So again, that's part of our SOL tracking sheet that we have where we keep close watch on all students. We've got running list of students who each by subject, which ones need the SOLs.
And as part of that remediation and recovery effort, we also have what we call a MAP class. So we're identifying students up front. And that MAP class, while it's not a credit, it is a chance for them to get more specified class instruction on that remediation material and give them that opportunity to get it that next time around.
We also have our teachers, when we have department meetings, we do a data piece to each meeting, and we try to look through and see what types of things, where are our weaknesses, where are the strengths at, and what can we share between teachers. So if one teacher does something really well and another teacher struggles, how can we share resources and help? So we've been doing that for each of our department meetings, all subject areas as well.
And then, of course, as we moved into the program of studies, which you guys recently approved, we were looking at what else could we offer. So we maintain that Algebra 1, Part 1 and Part 2, but we are now being able to analyze because that teacher not only is a SPED teacher, but is also now endorsed in that math content area. We can begin to identify some general education students that might need that extra time, not that semester class, but maybe a year-long class. So we're starting to pinpoint those as they come in the building as a 9th grader. And then we've also added reading and comprehension or composition classes so that we can build, again, another level before they move into the English 9 writing and so forth. Because we know, I know everybody hates this word, but COVID, we lost some instructional time. And so we're trying to build those things in to get those classes back in there to support those students. All right. That concludes our presentation. We may have been told to get it done. So are there any questions from the board?
So,
One question.
oh, go ahead. So just with the Bulldog time, so you said is that kind of like a remediation
It
type
is.
thing? And then
Or makeup, if students are missing, it's a chance to get them back in there, the classroom, to miss that instruction that they missed.
so it's during school time, the lunch. Or
That one is, yes.
And our teachers teachers are doing that on their own.
Teachers can do that on their own. They have access to the spreadsheet so everybody can see who's asking for that student. So we don't, 3 of us aren't asking for the same student at the same time. They might be during lunch A, it might be during lunch B because we have that split lunch block. And then we assign it It doesn't become an option anymore. When their grades, when they're failing, it is an automatic. You are in Bulldog time until I talk to you again the next week. If you're passing, I'll take you out and you get some more freedom back. But if not, we keep putting them in there to give them that instructional time.
What has been the most beneficial program you've implemented to attack the absenteeism? Is it the spotlight, or is it the publication, or which?
I think parents enjoy seeing the spotlights.
Okay.
They like seeing their kids' names out there. We see it get shared and shared and shared. And so then if you miss one, you hear. So, I think they want to know that their kids are out there. But the kids, ironically, and Sid can probably attest to this, when the chip boxes come out and the drinks come out, those cards are coming out. And they can only get those cards if they're coming to school. So we see that as being beneficial as well. But honestly, our attendance committee, which is comprised of our school community coordinators, our guidance counselors, and all of us together are outreaching to every one of those students. Pretty much either they're making phone calls every day. If they're not in school, they are getting a phone call. We're sending letters at the 6-day mark. We're making meetings at the 10-day mark. We're doing other meetings at 15 days. So, it's a constant. So after a while, I think some of them get tired of hearing from us, so they just go to school. So they stop calling me. And it's educating our community as well that, I get it all the time at the 6-day letter. Well, they're all excused. Yes, they are. However, the state's chronic absenteeism doesn't define it as just unexcused. It's a total absence, and we now have to monitor the whole and not just the part.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Drain, I believe you are up with a update for us.
Absolutely. Yay. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. My slideshow didn't get the memo that it was March and not April, so it's going to be bunnies and Easter, okay? All right, and then spring break is here. So, of course, I hope you all have a wonderful, break, as we call it. I'm sure you all will still be working hard up here, but, I'm very excited for my break.
Should be.
You didn't get the memo that's not. Oh no.
And then moving on to events at Leroy High School. Yay! Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pictures of some of these events. I'm not going to lie to you all. It was very hard to find, but I saw Miss Clark actually had a photo of this group in her slideshow, so you all have already seen it. Thank goodness. So some Leroy High School students went on a field trip to the American Shakespeare Center's Blackfriars Playhouse. We got to see the Pride and Prejudice. It was a really good play, and we actually had 3 or 4 seats that we could actually go and sit on the stage, like in a corner, and actually get to interact with some of the cast members, which I thought was really cool. Although some of the other people, I guess, were too scared because I think only 2 out of the 4 seats were full, but that's okay because it was really awesome either way. Oh, and then these were our March Madness days that were this week. We had Show Off Your Sport, and then we had the student staff swap. I wish I would have gotten pictures of this. Miss Boserman did it, and I thought it was hilarious. I didn't know that it was student staff swap day that day. I'm not going to lie. That was my own shortcoming there, but I thought that was wonderful. And then we had Jersey Day, and today was Blackout, so that was a lot of fun. And then these are some extra pictures of donkey basketball. You can see Deputy Beam over there in the corner with his donkey. Yep, well, you can see him twice. And then you can see Miss Runyon, our librarian, on her little tiny white donkey down there at the bottom. So very, very fun event. Definitely fostered a lot of community outreach. Very cool. And then I have a little sports recap real quick. So congratulations to the forensics team at States the past coming weekend. These were the places that everybody who competed there got. So you can just take a look at those real quick. I know Dr. Fox and Miss Clark were both there, and it was wonderful to see you both. I hope you all enjoyed the couple you got to watch. So that was a lot of fun. And then good luck to the Leroy High School debate team as they take on VHSL season this April. Their first competition, their super regional competition, is actually April 6th. So that is over spring break, but still, it'll be a lot of fun. And then
Where's it going to be?
Turner Ashby High School. I don't know where that is. I forget every year that they tell me, but I go every year. And then let's see. Good luck to the other teams that we have. We have boys and girls soccer. They had games today, so I couldn't get the stats on them, but I'm sure all of them did wonderful, so that's great. And then baseball and softball also had games today. So it seemed to be a very busy time. Although I think I heard that one of the games got canceled. Okay, JV softball. See, I heard that when I walked in, and I was like, oh no. Okay. And then spring track was yesterday. I heard a couple of you all talking about our star players earlier in the lobby. They had a scrimmage in March, and then they had their first meet yesterday, March 27th. And so next meeting, hopefully I'll be able to get some fresh stats of like who's beaten their personal best and some scores and stuff. But that was, congrats and good luck to all of them. And then let's see. Oh, clubs. This is, it might not be everyone's favorite topic, but it's my favorite topic. Okay, so the Leroy High School SCA just hosted their second March Madness breakfast yesterday. So that worked out very well. That was a lot of fun, very exciting for that. And then NHS, last month they had a blood drive. I'm not sure if I covered the blood drive last month when they had it or not. But it was a really good success, and they're also planning another event for the spring, like as we speak, so you'll have to be on the lookout for that. And FCCLA, we have state competitions April, I know it says 12th, that was my fault. It's the 11th through the 14th. I did not know that, so now I know I'm leaving a day earlier than I thought. My bad. But that's okay. It's going to be a lot of fun. The parliamentary procedure team is already in full swing. This team is the only team we have competing at states this year. It consists of myself, Jaden Montcalm Harris, Virginia Grebe, and Victoria Shoup. And then we have 2 other junior representatives coming with us to state, so that will be extremely exciting. Good luck to everyone there. Hold on. I feel like there was something else I was supposed to say. Oh, yes. If anyone wishes to donate any sort to FCCLA for their state trip, please come see me after this meeting. There was a hiccup with transportation, so we are looking for donations as we speak, but that's okay. And then let's see, the Spanish Honor Society. Okay, they are looking to host a field trip to the flamenco show. It's a like a Spanish type dancing event that they also went to see last year, I want to say. And they're also going to be cleaning up their adopted highway from the adopted highway that I talked about like 2 months ago. And then Leroy Ledger. The magazine is still looking for those willing to donate to their cause of keeping this school magazine free. I know that all of the Ledger members have been working really hard. They have like these very official papers that they've been sending out to businesses, so we're hoping to hear back from that, and that'll be great. And then we have a new club, the Mental Wellness Club. So that's a new club founded by some YPACA members, and this club, it's at both Leroy High School and Page High School. I was able to sit in on their first meeting, and it was very fun and very informative, so I'm excited to see where they take this club. And then FFA. Okay, they have been having so many competitions that I have not been able to cover or get pictures for, so I'm so excited to finally get some info here. So let's see, they have been hosting, like, they've had many like fruit fundraisers where they've been selling their strawberries and stuff. And so that was wonderful, of course, because who doesn't like strawberries? And then congratulations to, I'm going to butcher his last name, Christian Siegler on his first place finish at the Northern Area Rally in small engines. He gets to advance onto the state competition in September, which is always exciting. We love to see people advance to states. And then congratulations to Emma Grieber on her third place finish at the Northern Area Rally in prepared public speaking on March 23rd. We are absolutely so proud of all of our FFA members who have been competing recently because they have been doing amazing. And then this is my slide for the first responders, of course. Thank you to all first responders for their efforts during the recent wildfires. We see your tremendous efforts and determination to protect our community. Thank you for being our heroes in the face of this devastation. And then I have the nice little picture. And then that is all from me.
Thank you. I'm just gonna actually let Izzy conduct the meeting. I'm done. That was very good. Thank you. Yes.
I like my slide shows.
All right, Dr. Johnson, good luck following that. Positive, no matter what you're saying, it is very positive.
I would like to thank my student guests. Would you all sit here so you can see?
It's listening, you can't see it.
Good evening, members of the school board. I'm excited tonight to share just the beginning of some work that the operations team has been involved in. In addition to what I'll share with you tonight, in 2 weeks, we're going to bring you some more details on energy efficiencies and some other, I think, valuable look at how we do things, why we do things, and what we can do differently. The impetus behind this presentation tonight actually comes from your joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. Just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about looking at county efficiencies in the budget, and are there things that maybe we've done over time that we could do better? Are there times when we can join forces with the county, whether it be staffing or approach to things that would save funding? So this is just the beginning, and there's a lot we could cover, a much deeper dive, but I thought I would at least give you some of the basic information and data. So I'm going to start with transportation, and this slide fleets. And I'm going to, a little bit later on, I'm going to take even a deeper dive into our daily routes, our mileage, number of students, because that has an impact on our mechanical team over the bus route. But in regards to transportation, currently we're running 49 regular routes. We have 8 sub buses. We have a refrigeration food service bus as well. And then we keep spares over there. Some are inactive but functional. They're just much older buses. Some we maintain strictly for parks. And I will say that the mechanical team that we have are incredible. When you look at the age of our fleet, the mileage on some of our buses that run every day, it's because these men know how to keep buses running safely, efficiently. We've got numerous buses that are well over 200,000 miles. They run every day, and it's incredible. It's a testament to mechanics. So they are a group of individuals that don't get noticed very often. You see the mileage there at the bottom. We have 10 buses that go from 186,000 to 248,000 miles that are regular buses that we're using all the time. So if you think about that and you think about your own personal vehicles, that's significant mileage, and we run them regularly. And then we have 17 buses that are 100 to 186,000 miles. So 27 of our 49 buses are carrying some significant miles. And then I gave you just a little bit of historical information on purchasing trends. You can see that I did break down, I reached out to Corey, our head mechanic, just to kind of see recently the purchasing that we've done. And we actually purchased 3 new buses in June of 2021. And then in 2023, this last year, we were able to get 1 new bus as well as a sped bus. So we've done pretty well there. We do have some limitations, and I'll get into that as well when we get into the mechanical slide. But it's in regard to what we can purchase as opposed to facilities that we have.
So,
Yes, sir.
Dr. John, so we've got 27 current buses. Am I reading that right?
No, those are just, we've got 27 that are 100,000 miles or more.
Plus. Okay, so how many buses do we have total?
So we're running 49. You see up top there.
49 buses. Oh, routes. Okay, I got you.
So we're running 49 regular, then we have 8 sub buses, and then of course we're running a fair number of vans for special ed population that are going. Several of our special ed classes are placed specifically, so we don't have a certain program at, say, Shenandoah, Stanley, and Luray, we
Right.
might have that program at Luray. So then we're transporting kids down from Shenandoah, for instance, or to Luray Middle, that kind of thing.
And we're transporting kids across the mountain to.
We are, so we Charterhouse, Minnick, there are a number of day placements. So we have cars running out of the county every day, we have vans.
Governor's School.
Governor's School,
Right.
they meet, both high schools and then foot of the mountain, and off they go over to Shenandoah County every day, so we have a lot of mileage. That Transponder program that we use, we are tracking that. We, of course, we just lost the retirement, our supervisor of transportation, so we only have one individual right now that really knows that program. Really work on not making sure that we don't lose our data, not lose our data, but lose expertise in accessing our data, backing our data. Yeah.
So just to drill down just a little bit more.
Yes, these can be as deep a dive or as shallow a dive as you all would like to be. Yeah.
So the 49, you say regular route buses, does that mean 49 regular routes as well? Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah. And what we're finding currently, because one of the struggles is we are experiencing a shortage in our sub-drivers. And so we're seeing double runs quite often. And what that means is if a driver is out to legitimate illness, family crises, whatever, we're struggling right now with our substitute pool. So sometimes a driver will either merge two routes onto one. You can't often do that because
Right.
too many students. So they're getting their route, they're coming back to a given school, loading again and going another route. We had actually, I think, about 2 of those today, didn't we? Yeah, so that's happening as well, yeah.
So we're also looking at the efficiencies of our routes and making sure that we're not
That's right.
overlapping and,
Yep, and I've got that covered a little bit later on,
okay,
yep.
good, sorry.
Sure.
Didn't mean to jump ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. In fact, next slide. Yeah. So when we try to plan our routes, we're looking at, as you just said, we're not wanting to overlap our boundaries. So citizens might see 2 buses run through a town on, say, Shenandoah. You know, the Transfinder routes the streets most efficiently. So you might see a bus go down, and I'll get my numbers wrong in Shenandoah, but First Street, and you might see another bus go down Second Street. But one might be heading south and outwards towards Naked Creek in that way. One might be heading north or west, out across the river to the community behind there. So there's a lot that goes into making sure the boundaries don't overlap and we're not crisscrossing routes and so on. We take into consideration the length of routes. It's pretty typical in Page County to have an hour-long or maybe 75-minute route. Here on this end of the county, we have a bus that starts at Springfield, goes all the way out to Page Valley States, which is to Luray, over the river, pretty much back level with Rileyville, but there's no other
Right.
bridge. So that's a good example of a long route. So we take that all into consideration. We also have to think about start and end times between the schools. Another challenge for us is some buses will pick up at Shenandoah Elementary and then head to Page Middle and then to Page High. And so how can you eliminate the deadhead miles where you're running the buses without any kids on them? How can you eliminate students sitting in school cafeterias waiting for the bus to arrive? So there's a lot that goes into this. And then making the most of the available seats on those buses, not running buses that are half full. We want to make sure that we're getting those buses well loaded. Mr. Overfelt and I actually talked about this the other day, the pickup spots as well, making sure that where kids are getting picked up are safe spots. We know in some of our towns that I've done this, if you follow a bus up Main Street on any given morning, it feels like stop, 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 stop. And so there's some philosophy in that, do we want to merge spots and have kids walk? We can. We want to make sure they're not crossing roads to do so. And so there are decisions such as that are made. How can we make the pickup as efficient as possible, but as safe as possible? So again, Transfinder is a wonderful tool for that. I can get a printout that shows me what time a bus hits every stop, theoretically, if the route's going well. There is an interesting point that I wanted to say. This is for the public as much as anybody. We often will get calls saying that bus is running half empty. And there's a couple of things that you have to remember. One, I think it's about roughly second grade and under, you can't see them. You can't see their heads through that window if you're in a car outside because of the height of the bus, the angle, and the height of the student when they're sitting on the seat. So that's a point that you might look at a bus and say, there's nobody on there. And there might be 20 kids on there that you just can't see. So that's interesting. It's the other piece to that is, again, I just mentioned pickup spots. You might see a bus that's loaded at Luray Elementary, and it's on its way to Luray Middle, and then it has to go to Luray High. So you might see it a third full because it hasn't gotten to the other two schools yet. Or you might see it 30 minutes into the route, and it's still got another 30 minutes to go. So it's not always what meets the eye when you see in those buses.
No,
Well,
also, go ahead.
Extracurriculars, I think, would also play into that, especially when you're looking at middle and high school kids that are riding the bus.
Yeah.
And on the other end of that, I remember when I was in middle school and high school, mornings, sometimes evenings, I would put my backpack on my lap and then lay down. Yeah, right. So,
Yeah, but it's, we want the public to know that these are the things we're paying attention to. It's not haphazard. It's not, oh, that's an easy way. That's the way we've always done it. We also try to schedule these routes if we can near the driver's home. The reason for that is we park our buses at driver homes. We don't have because if we don't, we're going to have lots of deadhead miles. So trying to coordinate a route that's as close to where the bus is parked and it's efficient and you're getting the best bang for your buck with mileage. And so that's, I thought that was, it's good to be able to share some of this. A lot goes on every summer when we're reconfiguring routes. The next two slides, I thought you might enjoy. I showed you how many buses we've purchased. And I'll read these. I won't read every number, but there you go. Thank you. We're doing a comparison on buying buses. They use the word leasing. It's financing. It's what it is. Unlike a car, when you lease it and you turn it back in,
Right.
With these, you would lease it to own, and at the end of it, it's yours. But these are actual numbers right now. If you said you can go order 3 buses right now, if we were to buy those 3 buses, it'd be $396,000. It's $132,000 a bus for the size that we would need. But I wanted to show you, we got quotes on the financing because in budget world, it's very hard for us to say, can we have $396,000? You have an option to finance. If we did it for 7 years, you can see that we would need $70,469 a year. That's a whole different ask than $396. However, you look at the bottom right corner for 7 years, you would pay $97,000 in interest. So again, budget philosophy. Is it better to say I only need $70,000 a year and then I can guarantee that I've got 3 new buses on the road? Over 7 years, I also gave you 5 years. You could do the same thing. You would need $93,770 and you would spend $72,000 in interest. You notice those interest rates are different depending on length of finance. But if we can go to the next slide, the same is true.
Can we stay there just for a second?
Yeah.
So by looking at this, it tells me that we're actually going to be we're saving more money because we're actually getting more years out of our buses, correct? Like we get 10.
That is 100% true. When you look that we're driving buses that were 2000, 2003, 2005, we're saving a ton of money. Back to those mechanics. In a dream world, it wouldn't. The Virginia Department of Transportation recommends, and I wish I had brought that data with me, it's somewhere in the realm of 10-year lifespan. Mm-hmm. After that, they recommend school systems should be moving those buses on and bringing in new fleet.
Right.
10 years, and there's a mileage that goes with that. We far supersede those numbers. We get a lot out of our buses. And you can go out there and you'll see buses parked and you'll see those mechanics daily putting new parts on, pulling the floors up, welding, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Just go back to so I drove a school bus when I was in high school. Long
Didn't know that.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Cool.
We had student bus drivers.
I remember
That was different times, for sure. But so now, and we parked our buses at home. So does that apply when you talk about buses being parked at the driver's house? Does that also apply to the smaller vans and so forth that we use?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
So instead of them parking at a central location
Yeah.
to preclude deadheading, they're parking at their house.
Keeps the miles, in the long term, it keeps the miles off the vehicle by doing that.
Okay. So are they there at different times of the day as well? Sometimes?
So you mean at their home? Absolutely, yeah. So if you drive one of the 10-passenger white vans, you might run a route, and then you're going to come back to your home, park it, and then you're going to run it again in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Makes sense.
So that's a good point, because then as a community member, you might see a school van or a school car parked on private property.
Well, in fact, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
As I saw a van, or a van was parked over near Fairview, and it's kind of like in the middle of the day. It was like, why was it there?
That's
Okay.
exactly why.
All right.
Good question.
All right. Thank you for that.
The next slide is the same. It's just for if you wanted to get 5 buses. Again, it would be a $660,000 ask, and we would spend that money. Of note, it takes just about 12 months to get a bus. From the time we get approval to spend, we have to get the 71 passenger buses, because anything larger will not fit in our garage. Those are not the most commonly produced buses anymore. Corey Turner, our head mechanic, tells me that if we could order larger buses, we could get them in 3 to 6 months. But because we're ordering 71 passenger, it's literally a 12 plus months before you can even have them on your property. But anyway, so the cost would be $660,000. If you finance for 7 years, however, you could get 5 buses at $116,000 a year. So again, in budget world, that's more manageable, but it's going to cost you $156,000 in finance. So we thought that was, the school division did this before I was in this role. I was strictly HR the last time we did it, probably 10 years ago.
Right.
And I remember us getting 5 or 6 buses pretty quickly. And I imagine, I don't recall, but I imagine at that time it was just an urgent need. So it's good to know if we get to that point, we could get 5, 7, 8 buses, whatever, pretty quickly. But again, you just got to remember how much you're spending on finance charges.
I got another question for you. What's the result of your trip to Loudoun County?
Great question. So Mr. Turner and I went to Loudoun. I'll never forget it, because it was last Wednesday when the winds kicked up and the fires began. I got a call on the way back from that trip as to what was going on here. It was wonderful in a number of ways.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? You might want to give the public a little background as to why we chose to go to Loudoun County.
Yeah. So back to the meeting that we had, school board and board of supervisors, and we were talking about efficiencies, and we were lamenting on the cost of these buses and the amount we have to ask to keep the fleet up and where we're at with that. And the recommendation, or just really just the off-the-cuff suggestion, have you ever checked with the larger divisions, the Loudons, the Prince Williams, the Fairfaxes of the world, who seem to run very nice, shiny buses? And what do they do if they abide by what I just mentioned, the 10-year rule, and they turn them over or keep the miles, and what do they do with them? And so actually Dr. Fox had a contact in Loudoun, not in transportation, but just somebody that she's worked with in leadership, who connected us with their transportation people. And Mr. Turner and I connected with their Loudoun County Director of Transportation and their fleet manager. I will tell you, we went. Loudoun County has 800 buses. Wow. Yeah. The garage, the supplies, the facilities, it is a different world. And we enjoyed a tour. One of the big bonuses of that trip was Corey Turner, our head mechanic, met their guys. And we have now been invited back to tour their garages. He's got some numbers. Call us if you ever have questions on a mechanical issue. So side item to the actual purpose of the trip. I told Dr. Fox when we got back, our teams get to do professional development. Teachers go to trainings. The mechanics don't get much of that. So my hope is I'm going to send our whole team down to Loudoun for a day to tour and to shadow and to whatever, just because I think it'd be really valuable. Anyway, back to buses. So Loudoun County does have some buses that, for the most part, are being parked, and they would be willing to part ways with us. I actually was back in touch with them today. They're on spring break, which has slowed our communication down a bit. But we looked at some smaller buses. We looked at some 57 passenger buses. All of our buses, you know, have the hood in the front of them. These are flat. I don't know what the correct term is.
Snub nose, maybe.
But yeah, but they look more like a coach with the flat and the engines in the back. Loudoun uses those buses for training in their outskirts of the county, the more rural sections. The problem is they don't really like them because they don't really duplicate the big buses when their drivers are actually running their routes. So what's happened, these buses were purchased for training, they've been used, but for the most part now they're sitting. Corey has mixed emotions, and we're going to see a spec sheet that shows all of the data on those buses, the maintenance history, how often they've been run, and so on. The ones that we have an opportunity to look at are they average about 110,000 miles on each bus, which is appealing. As you saw, we're running buses with 200,000+, but they're literally 2003, 2004 model. They're 20-year-old buses. And so Corey's concern is things like, they've been sitting for a long time. Are there untold issues with them? So we're going to get some specs on them. We're going to see the history of them, how often they've been serviced. That will tell us whether they've been sitting or being running. You know, if they've been serviced every 3 months, they've been running. If it was every 2 years, they've been sitting. We also looked at a couple of bigger special ed buses that we can get access to. Procurement law says that because we're a neighboring school or another school division, legally they can mark a value and they can legally sell them to us for next to nothing. If we were a private citizen or something, they'd have to go through auction. But because we're another school division, the procurement laws allow that. So stay tuned.
Offer them $1.
What's that?
Offer them $1.
Well, they told us what they're thinking, and we couldn't refuse it if the buses were worth. Corey wants to make sure that we don't take on something that we're going to be sinking money into. Right.
So they can purchase buses just for training?
I'm going to tell you
This is
what I
Loudoun
was.
County.
I'm going to tell you what I was told, Mr. Doctor. When we were talking about this, they said, "Well, if it's allowable, we'll give them to you." And this was the quote, because it's not like we need the money. That was what was said to me. Very different world.
Well, that sounds like that was a very profitable trip.
It was a fantastic.
Yeah, very fruitful. Very
And
nice.
I'm thankful if we don't buy a single bus, one, to see that world, two, to expose our mechanics to that team, a huge win.
And that was an off-the-cuff moment from our meeting with
It
the
really
Board of
was.
Supervisors.
Yeah, it
I think it was
really
Mr. Guzzi made it, right?
He did.
Yeah, it was his suggestion.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so it was pretty neat. When we jump into facilities, next slide, I wanted to show you the other thing we talked about with the supervisors was staffing. You know, do we have maintenance men that could help them? Do they have maintenance men that could help us? What about custodial size? We have met now with Amity and/or Tyler, the county administrator and the financial leader there, a couple of times. And so here's some data on Page County. If you look at the bottom, we service 990,000 square feet of building. That's all of our buildings there on the left. We also upkeep 228, almost 229 acres of property. And we do most of that. Lower right, you can see the other. We have 6 maintenance men. So unless it's general, custodians are doing very general cleaning and servicing of the buildings. But anything more than that, repair, hanging blinds, replacing doorknobs, troubleshooting boilers. I mean, the spectrum is great. We have 6 maintenance men that are doing that for 990,000 square feet of building. And then our 228 acres, we have 5 part-time employees. And then we are fortunate enough to be able to utilize some of the trustees. And so they mow, weed eat, and upkeep the 228 acres. So I bring that to your attention to say the notion that we could assist in a county building they're really no better off. When I was speaking to Tyler and Amity, and I just generally asked, and I haven't seen a sheet that says we have this many employees or this much of that, but off the cuff, they were describing something similar, a custodian that covers the county administration building, and the courthouse. So they're doing the same. They're covering a lot of ground with a few people. The top right was a study that I was involved in 6 months ago, and so I was just pulled the data back. I'm part of a HR group just here right in the valley, Shenandoah, Augusta, Rockingham. And I think it was Rockingham one day sent out a, hey, how do you staff your high schools with custodians? And so the different HR groups were sending back their numbers, and I thought it was neat. Shenandoah County, their high school custodians, they have one custodian for every 17,500 square feet of high school buildings. Augusta has one for every 32,000, Rockingham, one for every 25. We have one for every 41,000. So again, it's interesting data to say we have people working really hard and covering a lot of ground. When we start talking efficiencies, we're pretty efficient. And then I just gave you a list of how many custodians we have per building. And again, you can go back to the square footage. So it's really nice to be able to pull this data out, because for me to show the governing body actual data, I think is helpful instead of just saying, oh, we're working hard, or, you know.
And not only that, but I mean, the custodial staff, even though the county's running neck and neck with us as far as being, conservative with the amount of work that the public school system custodial staff is cleaning up a lot more.
Thank you.
It's a lot more people to look after. And
And surprises that they
Well, I'll
find.
give you an
Yes.
example. When I was a high school principal, and it's no different, Ms. Clark is here, they can correct me if I'm wrong. As a high school principal, you're going to have a custodian arrive probably around 6:00. They've got 3. They're going to serve 500 students lunch. One custodian can't do that, so you have to have an overlap. But somebody has to close that building after the last basketball game at 10:30 at night.
Right.
So those 3 custodians, you're right, they're handling trash and cleanup and
hundreds and games and the county situation.
very different.
They're stopping at 5 o'clock, and it's mostly adults, which we expect to be neat. So it's not exactly
Not apples to apples.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not a fair comparison.
And
Yeah,
knock
thank you for saying that.
on wood, I think it's passed, but they don't have the trends that maybe go through that then create more work for our custodians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, these are folks that are covering an awful lot of ground. And when we start talking to the supervisors about rates of pay, Dr. Fox was presenting to them the other night about, where our custodians rank in the valley. Well, one, they cover a lot more square footage than their peers do around the valley. Then we start looking at their salary, and the load that is on them throughout the day is significant.
Now, if I remember our conversations about personnel, that was a surprise to a lot of these folks who come up and take this job. And that's one of the reasons why we have a hard time maintaining custodians.
That's right. The load on them is big, and the compensation is fairly low.
And they work hard. I mean, I remember when I was substituting at Luray Elementary, and it was, early in the morning, and the custodian was just drenched in sweat because they were working so hard to get from place to place. I have a question too. So we have 6 maintenance guys, and with the vehicles, how many maintenance vehicles do we have?
Yeah. This has come up. Our maintenance men currently are sharing trucks. As a finance team, we've talked about this. We've looked at some of the grants that we have. Unfortunately, some of the COVID and ESSA monies, that doesn't count because it's not directly tied to students. So you can't tip into those funds, unfortunately. We have pairs. So you'll see 2 maintenance men in 1 truck. Not efficient. I really would love. We have 6 maintenance men. I wish I had 6 trucks, because then you can go here, you can go here, you can go here, but that is not the case, and it's a vehicle issue.
So if you have guys at, Springfield and then Leroy Elementary, and then, a boiler goes out at Page County High School, you have to wait for.
Of the 6, 2 of them are tied to pairs. Our construction individual has his own vehicle. He carries more lumber and tools and works alone because he truly does construction repairs. But we are very much handcuffed by vehicles.
Are they cross-trained on each other's jobs, or are they
Yes, generally.
specialized?
No, they're not specialized. I wish we had more specialty. We do have a plumber, but he does far from only plumbing. He does lots of things. We have a construction specialist, and then the others are very much what you might think of generalists, but our supervisor, Tim Williams, is very skilled in HVAC. So Tim will often be found in the field with 1 or 2 of them, kind of helping to guide, but that's one of a discussion we've had in budget world. To get specialists, we really need an HVAC specialist. But you need $70,000+ in salary, and these gentlemen are making about 40. That's roughly our pay scale for maintenance guys.
Well, once we get a plumbing program up in the tech center, we can help
It would be fantastic,
yeah,
yes.
we give our students something to do, actual work, hands-on,
Same
right?
is true with the HVAC class that we
gonna
just got
ask.
started. I'm hoping we can tap into that at some point.
Yeah.
Those,
Help ourselves.
well, those students were doing Fridays with us this year, the HVAC students. They were shadowing and out in the building some, but that's scratch compared to what we need.
Right.
Well, and I know you said with the trustees, you can utilize them for the mowing and
Yes.
weed eating and things like that, but I've found that a lot of these guys are very, very skilled in
Exactly.
carpentry and other work. Are we able to use them?
We are.
Or-
They just can't be in the buildings at all when the students are there.
Right.
So we have a very narrow so with mowing, it works. They can be out behind a school. You think about Luray High and back up in the acreage that is, say, the cross-country course. They can be there all day and they'll never see a student. But as far as getting into buildings, we have much narrower windows of time
So something happened.
because we have things going on till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night in some of our buildings with kids in there. So it limits us, but we do. Summertime, we use them. We had some of them in this building this week, assembling some furniture and doing some work. And so, yeah, just not as much as we can because of some of the legalities.
Probably also good to point out, they're always supervised.
Always, yeah, always, yeah. That's been a tremendous partnership with the sheriff. Really good partnership. Yeah.
If I may add before you jump to the slide, I think that ratio of the maintenance from the 1 to 165,000 square feet, if you all recall, we have an additional maintenance person on our budget. It
That's
was
true.
One of our,
Right.
that list of things. This is part of the reason why is because of that, just simply the amount of work that's there. And that particular ratio played into that decision for the budget.
But until we can get more trucks, it
Yeah.
kind of halts how much we can get done as well.
I would say getting 2 more trucks would probably be the most important thing because then we could be much more efficient in placement.
Yeah.
Does Loudoun County have any extra trucks?
That's exactly right.
They've got it all. It's unbelievable.
I mean,
Miss Seacrest has been tasked with the arduous job of trying to find us money for trucks. So,
Talk to Loudoun County.
The next,
I would just like to add one comment. When I graduated from undergrad school, back in the dark ages,
no.
the head of the education department said, and there were 3 groups of people, that as an educator, you wanted to be sure that you were in good with them. And one of the top ones was studies. And in my 34 years, I can't say enough. That relationship came in to the rescue more than that.
coming around to our mechanics now, and again, coming back to efficiencies, how can we help the county or vice versa? You see here, it says 76 daily routes, because now you start talking about adding the cars, adding the vans, not just buses. we're running 1,592 miles a day on average. We're carrying on average 1,481 passengers a day. We take 388 sports trips this year. Those are on schedule, and approximately 325 field trips. But keep in mind, when you think about 4 mechanics servicing all that miles, all those vehicles, to the right there, we do our own state inspections. We maintain all of our own vehicles, tires, oil, wipers, you name it, general maintenance. Any repair we can make, we do. Any install, we installed those GPSs that we were so proud of. We installed them ourselves. It saved us $1 a GPS system a month. So we did it. Corey said, no, I can do it. Let me look at one and I can do it. He's tremendous. Can't say enough about Corey and his team. Emergency response, if something breaks down, we go. If we can, we deliver a sub bus on the spot, and then we stay with it, or we get it back. If the mechanic can lift the vehicle back, we do that. We oversee towing. So those 4 gentlemen are super, super, super busy. The history, because there was some talk about taking on some county vehicles. We did that for a short period under a former sheriff, and it was a good idea. They financed an extra mechanic. And then in doing so, we took care of their vehicles. Now, both fleets were significantly small. I'm talking 10 years ago at least. And fleets were significantly smaller then than they are now. But that ended at the discretion of the county. There was some thought that they could have gotten them a little quicker if they farmed it out to automotive dealers. And so they made that decision, and we kept doing what we do. But I did look at the garage just in case it comes up again. So we have 3 bays out in that garage. I mentioned already it'll only fit the 71 passenger vehicle. The middle bay has the equipment to lift buses and large equipment. So let's say the county said, can you work on our ambulances? The men could be trained. There are probably some things that they're not familiar with, but we only have 1 bay that could get them off the ground. The left bay has a lift only for cars, and the right bay is simply a pull-through. So there's some limitations there with facility. Right. Geographically, that garage, if you pull into the front of the garage, the left sits on our property boundary, so you could not go left. The right already has structures against it, a central freezer, some other pieces to it, so you couldn't go right. You'd have to go out the back of the bays, and there's a significant drop-off, so you'd have quite a bit of grading and adjustment of the surrounding property. But we did take a look, and so we can answer that and say, well, yeah, here are the limitations. Here's what we currently do. I have asked, because that came up, I have asked Tyler, the county finance gentleman. I said, what I would advise you need to do is pull all of your maintenance records for, say, the last year. What have you spent? What are the jobs you've done? Who's done them? Because you can't even have this conversation unless you know the quantity of work that they're talking about. So kind of left them with that.
So just to go apples to apples, we were talking about trucks. We had six maintenance guys, and we talked about 3 trucks. I see 8 trucks.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So here's another example. I'm getting ready to cover water treatment as an example. So we have a gentleman getting ready to retire. He covers our water treatment plants. They range from Grove Hill to Page to Springfield. Okay. He has to hit them all every day. He has to do samples. So that's an example of a truck. The maintenance, the mechanic team has a truck. The mowing crew has 2 trucks. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
I want to ask, I know Corey is a Page County Public School graduate. Is his training from the Tech Center as well?
No, Corey, well, I don't know if he went to the technical center, but Corey was trained in Northern Virginia at a formal training center.
But then they came back. And,
Yeah. However, there is a recent grad from the tech center that is now.
Our most recent hire is right out of the campus.
Great.
That's great. Growing her own.
Yeah.
We hired that young man at 17 and 11 months. We waited till graduation and we started him on the job.
Nice.
Yeah, they did. That was neat because we got you hear Leanne Pettit talk about the tech center signing day. We went to that the year we hired him.
That was good.
And we signed him. Yeah, it's cool.
So, when, you know, trying to, if they're kind of toying with the idea of us coming together, how many county vehicles do we have?
So I've not been told that formally, but I've heard 81 is a number. I don't know if that's just sheriff's office or all told. But so when we've asked the county for some of that information, I've asked for some information on custodial pay scales, number of employees, but I haven't gotten anything yet.
So 81 would be a low number added on addition to what we currently have with 4 mechanics.
There would have to be another hire.
But that's
minimum.
not including probably our ambulances, right?
Probably not. I don't know. It doesn't sound reasonable.
Well, 4 people can't. I mean, we're not trying to run 4 people off. So, I mean, how many more people are we going to hire to make this happen? I mean, in a perfect world, but it needs to be a much larger facility.
Facility would be a huge and more.
And with much more staff, because it's never going to be efficient. And the last thing that you want to see is the school bus sitting on the side of the road. This is exactly why these people are working so hard, because you don't see that.
Well, would that include fire trucks or is that completely separate?
I don't know. I don't know what
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Because we don't have a lift that would lift those fire trucks, do we?
And the specialty, our guys are trained on a particular type. We only buy, I've learned this through my Loudon trip, I've learned we buy Thomas buses, for instance. Our guys are trained on Thomas engines. So if we start bringing in, this would be like working on your Toyota versus your Ford versus your Nissan. They're different. And
Yes,
so,
which is why
yeah.
you have different places that specialize in
That's
different.
right.
So we'd have to hire more specialized, which obviously then the pay changes there as well.
Probably need new electronic equipment too, like Sun computer equipment to plug in, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
that's
we do what we
cost.
can, and then
Yeah.
we use Highway Motors over just out on side of 11, Harrisonburg on 11, because they specialize in school bus repair. So what we can't do, then they typically do.
It's, I mean, obviously if we had the facility and the manpower and the money from the county, I mean, obviously the school system cannot absorb this. I mean, it's
So
just,
that's why he's asked for, give us, how much are you spending? Because what you're spending there, could that be another employee
Right.
to then add, or 2?
Sure.
And then it makes it a little bit more doable, because you look at state inspections or just the basic mechanical work. You don't now have to send those vehicles out and pay. You could do it internally, so would that be enough?
sure.
But we don't have enough information yet
Right.
to know.
I thought it was a great discussion and well worth the time to do this, and this is just beginning.
Yeah.
It'll answer the question once and for all, maybe, or it'll help us all get better. It'd be interesting.
No, I think this is valuable input. No, it really is.
Almost there. I mentioned water treatment. Next slide. Again, just trying to show you all as many efficiencies as I can. This is one that has me a little bit nervous. So in recent years, we've had an employee been with us his whole career and getting ready to retire. He's performed water treatment services for us. If you look over on the right, we have water treatment, meaning wells. If you're outside of town limits, you run your own wells and you're responsible for water treatment, and the state holds high expectations in that. And so this particular employee regularly is traveling up and down the county, reading out meters, testing. I met with him and he took me through a lot of what he does. You can see some of that, adjusting then based on the testing, what adjustments need to be made with chemicals in the water systems, what maintenance needs to be made done with the pumps, what tests have to be done with the drinking. We're working with the health department. It was interesting. He reminded me, this is again a valuable employee that just does it and doesn't speak up. Whenever there's a weekend activity at any school that's on a water treatment facility, he has to go in and test. If you flush a toilet or hit a water fountain, you can't wait till Monday. If there's a Saturday event, he has to go in on Saturday. So unfortunately, we've gotten a lot out of this employee, again, at a salary that's typical to Page County schools and maintenance type of salary. We put it out to quote, I've been told it's in Bowdoin, not in Bowdoin, so I think that M should be an N, my apologies. But in order to do the services that we've been doing for under $50,000 a year, it's going to cost us $117,000 if we get a water specialty company to come in.
If I saw online today where I think there's 2 positions that they can't fill right now in the county.
And so actually Timmy Williams is also, he knows some of the guys in the towns that have this, and Timmy's in the process of reaching out to them. But, because that was another idea. Could we take our $40,000 or $50,000 and say, okay, town of Stanley or town of Luray,
Right.
can you help us?
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, but
And I misspoke. I don't know if they can't fill them. I just know that there's 2 positions that are open and they're advertising. So, I mean, water treatment, and I know that's a very hard position to fill.
Hard to fill.
I think our best bet, honestly, is going to be to find some bright, sharp, younger adult coming out of maybe high school that didn't run off the military or college and train them and then try to hang on to them. Because one thing I will say, I don't believe this job has an age requirement. It has an ability requirement.
Right. But water is super critical.
We can get in a lot of trouble if we get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Last slide. We've also done this with the county. As you know, our health insurance is the local choice. And every year we sit down with our representation and we have to track our claims history. So all of our employees that are on the health insurance plan, once a year they come in and they say, okay, last year, these were your claims. These were your big claims. These were your little claims. This is your history. What comes into play, reality, age, lifestyle, all those things come into play because it's how much did you spend on your health plan? And that drives then your upcoming rates for the next year. We are required, the local choice requires that we keep at least 80% of our active employees on the plan or we're not eligible for it. So we have, I think last time I checked, it was about 84% of our employees were on it. And looking at our 23-24 rates, if you are an employee of Page County and you have a family plan, out of pocket, you're paying between $11,600 and $16,000 a year to have a family plan. The employer contribution, we contribute somewhere around $600 to $700, but then a month. But then the rest comes out of the employee pocket. So the county has asked to look at that as well. Maybe we could merge. So Mrs. Seeley and Patty's team have provided our numbers. I suspect, because this is not the first time this question has been asked over the years, they're going to find that it would benefit us, not so much the county employee group. The reason I say that is your average age of employee. When many of your employees are middle-aged, active sheriff's department, then you go back and think about that age, lifestyle, and health history. That's what drives your number up or down. So we'll see how this goes. But again, we have submitted that to say, great, if the county can put the two together and save some money, wonderful. But it's likely that either the school or the county side, somebody's rates would have to be adjusted, I imagine.
Whoever's larger injection of youth with
They're going to end
a
up
higher mortality, or lower mortality
we know
rate.
the answer to that, but we'll let the numbers sort themselves out. Yeah. So for now, those are the efficiencies that we've been looking at. And, I thought it important to not just sit on that, but once that was brought up, the ops team, Mr. Bell, myself, others on my team have been working on this to gather data and see what we can find out and get with the county and go from there.
Thank you. That was very good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Dr. Fox, I believe you are up.
Yes, and I have a relatively short update for you, but I would like to say, Mrs. Clark and Ms. Meadows, thank you for presenting tonight, but if you'd like to leave, it's okay.
That's probably right.
And I certainly know it's probably longer than you expected, so if you'd like to leave,
We can sign your paper.
I'm taking two.
Still keep.
Okay. All right, I'll just put it forward. Do you want me to write on one of the lines or just go?
Yes. These people are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Cool deal. All right, thank you. The first thing I want to start with tonight is the same thing that Izzy shared, and this graphic was made by Laurel Webb, who's a junior at Luray High. So thank you to Laurel for that. We've all been using it. You've seen it on our banner this week, but we just want to also take a moment to thank our first responders as a school division for the number of families that we serve, the number of employees. We are deeply grateful for the work that they did to save homes and to save property, and that there was no loss of life. I got to drive up the mountain this week to a meeting, and it was just staggering to see. We saw the pictures Thursday night, and I think all of us took a collective gasp at what we were seeing, and then to come and drive and see it in the aftermath. But to see that charred, but you see the home still standing, was pretty incredible. So I'll extend a deep thank you for me personally, but also from all of us in the division. We want to say thank you to our first responders. The next couple slides, and I'll just ask Linda to move through them. Excuse me, Mrs. Breeden Wallace, to move through them slowly for me. Today, this week, all of the schools have been using banners or cards. We managed to get some pictures today, and they're going to be taking those to all of our first responders to share with them and to say thank you. We have an activity planned in April for the first responders and one in May as well. So I want to say thank you to our schools for their efforts, given what happened yesterday with the early dismissal, throwing another little wrench in there, but we want to say thank you to them. And so we're hoping that when our first responders get these things, it'll just make them smile and know that our students recognize what they've done in their support of everything. So again, we just say thank you to all of them. And then just also some other thank yous, because I think we would be remiss if we didn't. And we started listing out, but then we're like, oh, no, we're going to forget somebody. And my goal is to never offend anybody with this kind of thank you. So we're going to push out general thank yous. We are sending some very specific thank yous to groups and organizations and people from the division that will be personal. But outside organizations, entities, groups, and people that offered and or provided services, equipment, materials, and supplies, there's a large number of counties around us that sent materials and supplies, trucks and things like that, and people. So to all of them, the American Red Cross was here. We don't want the American Red Cross here. Don't take that personally, but they were here in support.
Right.
So just thank you. And then just some specific thank yous to people in the division. When we were there Wednesday night, when all of this started at Luray High School, there was a group of students that walked in and said, we're here to help. What can we do? And there were others that called throughout the whole time to say, just here's my number. We kept a running list. If you need something, please call me. And so thank you to those students for that. That warmed us to know that restored some hope in humanity, that there's kids out there that are thinking beyond themselves, and we appreciated that. All of those people that came and donated food, water, drinks, dog food, crates, cat food, all kinds of supplies and materials. And again, people were just calling and saying, what do you need? What do you need? And offering, again, the next line, they volunteered their services. And again, just said, here's my number, call me if you need something. Some of you all did that as well, said call if you need something. So we just want to say thank you to them. Our administrators, faculty, staff, you guys pitched in. Others went to Luray High School to cover the desk there so that we had support for the groups that were running the shelter. And then I want to thank Nikki Clark and her staff for stepping in as that shelter runs to fill in whenever needed there and make sure that the folks who needed that space had everything that they needed. So to all of our folks, we just say thank you. I think I was proud as a superintendent because whenever I said, hey, I need, or we need, somebody just said, I've got it, and they took it and they ran with it. So I just want to personally thank all of them. And to our bus drivers too, I just want to give a shout out to them. All of our transportation staff, not just our bus drivers, but all of them. Because even last week when we had to start dismissing Springfield because of the power outages, they jumped on it and they were there. Yesterday when we had to do the dismissals because of power, they jumped on it and they were there. So
we just want to make sure we say thank you to them as well, because many of them dropped whatever it was they were doing and got there as quickly as they could, and worked things out on the radio. We were listening to them going back and forth, working out things. So we just want to say thank you to them. And then different subject, but as Izzy mentioned, I did get the chance to go on Saturday to the state forensics tournament. I've never been to a state level tournament, so it was a really great experience. And I'll tell you, you did an amazing job. I know you don't think you did, but you did. You did an amazing job. And as I watched some of the other kids, it was a pleasure to be able to experience that. And I texted them on Saturday as we were sitting in that picture is in the auditorium for the awards. It's at the very end of the day. They were all tired, but they're kids. They were hyped up on all kinds of things. But this group of kids, I'm telling you, this auditorium was packed. There had to have been 1,500 people. The kids were all down in the front. Every single time somebody won, every single kid cheered for every single other kid. There was no school. You were there. You know, one young man won a scholarship, and I tell you what, that room exploded. And there were kids high-fiving him, hugging him. One young lady was so surprised that she won. She started crying, and when she was going up to the stage, kids were hugging her. They were holding her hand. I'm telling you, I texted them, and they're like, oh, she's probably just, she's in a place. But it was an amazing, amazing experience to be able to see that. And then to come to that out of what we just experienced with the wildfires, and the way this community came together. You know, we were still a little nervous about school on Monday, but it was wonderful to see our community come together, and then to be able to be a part of that experience was, it was just one that I won't forget for a long, long time. So thank you, Izzy, for you guys making it to the state so I could be a part of witnessing that, and to Miss Clark for spending the day there with her husband as well. And certainly to Miss Burley and to Mr. Hammer for their work, because without those sponsors for these types of things, this doesn't happen. These opportunities aren't there for the kids. So thank you for that. Just a quick budget update. Monday evening, we did go to the Board of Supervisors. So thank you to you all that could be there in support of that to present our FY25 proposed budget to them. In terms of the state budget, as you all know, the General Assembly did pass a budget back in when they closed their session on March 9th. It's now in the hands of the governor. There is a little bit of discord right now up there. A meeting has been scheduled for next month, so we hope that they can come to some compromise. And we're not in a position where we were last year, where we don't have definitive numbers until late in the budget season. So we're sending our best wishes up there that they can come to some compromise that ultimately will see some benefit to school divisions. So we did get the it's all right. It's a good tune.
Makes you want to dance.
Sorry. You're okay. That's the optimism that it's going to come out well in Richmond. Right?
That was a positive
That was
song.
good. Yeah. I'll take that. Thunder didn't strike down. So
Right.
Take it, power outages or wind or, yeah. Ooh, yeesh. We did finally get a new VDOE calc tool. It is only for the General Assembly budget. So Mrs. Seacrest will work her magic and get those numbers up. Once the governor comes back, there'll be another tool that we'll work with. So we'll be able to potentially give you some updated numbers after spring break based on that, and then we'll see where that goes. So that is some good news that tool, we've been waiting for that one to be released. So you have fun with that. Let me know. So April 8th, which is the Monday after our spring break, students are off, but that is a solar eclipse. So pretty cool thing. As a former science teacher, this kind of stuff is awesome. Get really excited about it, and it's fun because they don't happen that often. So we will be pushing out, Mrs. Ryman and her team created a great little flyer that'll be pushed out. There's some information that'll be there for families to do at home when the eclipse is happening, and some little science behind all of that. And certainly there's some safety there too, because the main thing is you've got to make sure you're safe if you're going to view the eclipse. So that's why you have a pair of glasses for you to safely view the eclipse next week, or the week after rather. So we encourage families, when students are out, please participate, look at the activities, but also please do it safely. And then this is just a reminder, anytime we move into a holiday or a break, while many of us are ecstatic that break is coming because it's a little bit of downtime, there are other people that that's not such a happy time, and it's a very difficult time. So we have in the past pushed out information as a division on where resources are found, and then based just on some conversations that we've had with 2 instances of some suicides just in this last week. We thought we want to push this out and just remind everybody of the 988 number. Just dial 988 and you can be connected instantly. That's the National Crisis Hotline. The Stop It app is there for anyone in PCPS. If you have that on your phone, it's on every student's Chromebook and device. There is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crisis text line that's available through that, where you can be immediately connected with a counselor. The Veterans Crisis Hotline is there. You can either call or text to that. Call 911 if you have to. And then certainly, because we're such a small community, this is an advantage. Everybody knows everybody. Reach out to any division employee, even if it's spring break. That person is going to call somebody, whether it's one of us or somebody else, and say, how do I help this person? So please, if you're in need, don't hesitate to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And we hope that these resources help if that is the case. And then just a reminder that starting tomorrow through next Friday, all the schools and offices are closed for the spring break holiday. Monday, April 8th, when we come back, that is Parent-Teacher Conference Day, as well as pre-K and kindergarten registration. And then all of our students start back on March 9th, which starts our 4th quarter, believe it or not. We have 1 quarter to go. Oh, did I say April? Oh, it is. I need to change that. I'm sorry. Thank you. Good catch. Yeah, not March 9th. Whew. Don't do that. We don't need to backtrack through March. Sorry, April 9th, Tuesday, April 9th will be when students return, and that will be the start of the 4th quarter. So that concludes my update. If there's any questions, happy to answer them tonight.
And so there were some events planned for first responders in April and May. Do we know what those are going to be?
So April, where the schools are working them out, we've got principals kind of working. One is going to be to create like some goodie bags to say thank you. The other is potentially a meal to either take to the first responders or to invite them in to the first responder, to the school to do that. We thought we'd take it slow. We started with the thank you and then do something else because we were told right now they don't need any more food.
You know.
Yes. So we said, let's spread that out at a time when maybe that's needed a little bit more.
I went by on Monday and at one department they were, can you please, you want some food? You want some? And the next one they were eating Rice Krispie treats and they're like, you want some of these?
Yeah. So again, a testament to our community that how often do you get to say, please, no more food, right? So yeah, we'll spread that out. And we wanted them to know that it wasn't just a once and done, that over time, because it's not just during a wildfire, that their services are saving lives and benefiting the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Seacrest? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, Board members. You have been provided with the claim certification where the operating expenditure is $251,274.73. Capital improvement expenditures, $48,354.85. Food service expenditures, $41,173.92. Total expenditures, $340,803.50. Along with that, you have the list of claims as well as the check register. And if you have any questions,
A motion?
I make a motion that we approve those claims for payment as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Overfelt and a second by Ms. Alger, after some discussion, to approve the claims for payment as presented.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Yes. Ms. Seacrest? Purchase orders over 10,000?
Yes, Board, we have one purchase order this evening for your consideration. It would be the purchase of 9 floor machines, one for each school location, utilizing ESSER 3 COVID funds.
Oh, well, I make a motion we approve.
Sorry.
Your
Hey,
turn.
we are excited, so we'll have both of you do it together. That's fun.
Well,
Yeah.
simultaneously, it's gonna make a motion to approve the purchase orders over 10,000.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Mr. Overfelt to approve the purchase orders over 10,000.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all.
What's important, I mean, that money's going away, so it's great to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and there, I can tell you, our custodians are going to be very happy. We're excited. We've been waiting for this to happen, and we're so glad it got approved.
Do we have them? Or
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. So I went to pay today and they are buffering the floor.
They were Luray too.
Yes.
Well, if the custodians are listening, I'm sure they're going to be real happy with this.
Yeah, and the vendor that we're getting them from is going to come and train. They'll do each school and show them how to use them, so we take good care of them.
School board student representative policy.
Yes, so this evening, I'm just bringing this back to you. This was the updated policy we reviewed for us to have a 2-year tenure and then alternating every other year with the school so that we keep a senior 1 year and a junior the next year. So just asking for you to approve that policy and we can get it posted and begin that process.
I make a motion that we approve the new policy on the school board student representative.
I second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Ms. Bryant to approve the school board student representative policy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. Board member discussion?
I have 2 things. Izzy, you are an inspiration. I won't be surprised one day if you become the first woman president of the United States. With your enthusiasm and insight and true interest in whatever you're pursuing, it's just amazing. So thank you for your presentation tonight. It was really, really inspiring. And I just want to say that I am proud to be a citizen of Page County. Sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a disaster to wake us up and realize what we have. And I'm getting cold chills right now. But when I know what this county did as a whole, it just makes you feel so fortunate because it's not like that everywhere. And what gets done, not because we have all the wealth in the world, but because of our citizens who truly care and how they reach out. Again, it's just the greatest feeling that one can have. So to the school system, you know, we got to use one of our buildings for a much needed thing. And again, the students came on board, the community came on board. And for our EMS people, how in the world could we ever survive without them? And again, you take a lot for granted. So this is, I hope, will wake us all up and realize how we need to support these companies, the rescue squad, the law enforcement, the fire companies. And they're volunteer. They're volunteer as far as the fire departments go. County has a rescue squad, but they're volunteers. That says something that you don't hear of anymore because it's all about getting paid money. And I'm not opposing any of that, but ours are volunteers. So for everyone listening, take time, send a card, talk to, whatever, let them know how valuable, they're priceless for what is needed in any place. So I just want to say hats off and God bless each and every one of you.
Yeah, I thought we were good on the line.
We're going to skip around. Go ahead.
We're gonna rock, paper, scissors.
No.
Gotta have some seating rearrangements.
Give out numbers.
Okay, look, Izzy, great. I mean, you are awesome. Great presentation. You know, it's not only informative, but it's fun. You're so comfortable in your presentations and so forth. It's really a pleasure to watch you and listen to you. Can't say enough about the first responders. I mean, I watched as a newcomer 7 years ago to this county. I was amazed at the effort everyone put forth, and the community really came together in all different aspects. The stores, providing all kinds of food and water and Gatorade, the churches, the communities, the organizations, people from, I saw people in Harrisonburg outside the Walmart there, and they were loading water onto the trucks. People were going inside and buying water and bringing it out because they knew that we needed it. It was really, really very heartwarming to see that. So, Dr. Johnson, great presentation tonight. Thank you very much. I know that was a lot of really good information, and I hope that it serves the purpose that for which it was intended. And I'm very encouraged that we've met with the Board of Supervisors. I do hope that they take this information and they use it and realize that we have done, I think, I think we've done a really good job of looking at the numbers. We have a fiduciary responsibility as elected members of this board to monitor and to ensure that we are not wasting the taxpayers' dollars. That's something I take very serious, and I think all of us do. And so when I look at your presentation and I look at the numbers that we've looked at over the past month, and I like numbers. So it's been interesting, but it's also been challenging to realize that we have to tighten our belt where we can. We look for efficiencies where we can, and we hope that the requirements that the state lays upon us as a school system, school district statewide, we hope that they also understand that they need to fund their fair share. But it's a very interesting process, and I'm hoping for a positive outcome because I think that working together with the board and with the staff, you've done a great job on this, everybody. And Dr. Fox, I really appreciate your leadership in the staff putting all these numbers together, and I really do hope that we see a positive outcome. And I'm very, very optimistic that we will, because I think we're developing a better relationship with the Board of Supervisors, I hope. I mean, that's part of my goal, be here. And I'm glad to be a part of this board. Anyway, thank you for tonight.
I echo everything he said. But truly, I agree, and especially with Jackie or Mrs. Sullivan Smoot's point, the way that the community came together and the way that this community comes together. And it really was enlightening to me because when we come together, if we can accomplish all of that, imagine if we continue even outside of tragedy to work together, what we can accomplish in our community. We have a lot of hurdles to jump, and I think we've come a long way, but we all obviously have a long way to go. And so just want to encourage people to keep working together and finding those common causes. I got to go to Page County High School 3 times today. For different things. And it was a delight. It's always just a really great environment. You can tell that the staff and the administration really work really closely and well together. But I think I might have shared this last meeting, but we worked with the horticulture class to do the starts for all of the community gardens. So we went a couple weeks ago. We planted tomatoes and peppers and I can't think of what it's called right now.
Squash.
We didn't plant squash. It's chard, Swiss chard. What do you call it? Swedish something that wasn't right. But we planted a lot of that, and the kids have been taking care of it. So seeing the responsibility they've been taking and all that, and the greenhouse, if people have not seen the greenhouse at Page County High School, it is amazing. Mr. Reisinger has potatoes and tomatoes already growing, lettuce. I mean, it looks incredible. So it's just really cool to see, when we go in the community gardens this summer and we're picking our tomatoes and things like that, to know that those were grown by Page County Public School students. Awesome. It's been really awesome. And then also just everyone have a great spring break. I encourage, as Dr. Fox said, everyone to rest and take the break and take the time. It's very, very important. I know our staff, our teachers, our students don't get very many breaks. Izzy, take a break. Please take the rest and enjoy it. So yeah, I just want to encourage everybody to take advantage of that time.
Okay, now it's my turn. All right, Izzy, your joy. You just are. I think that sums it up pretty well. You're a joy. I wanted to talk about the student that was over here that got to slip out before we got to recognize her. That is Miss Elizabeth Ramos, and she is a wrestler for Page County High School. So I'm sorry I didn't get to say hello to her and her mother, but great. I'm sure she was here for government, and she heard a lot tonight. So, yeah, our community reminds me of siblings. You know, you can pick on each other, but nobody can pick on you, right? And that's exactly what happens when Page County comes under attack. Okay, we're going to band together and we're going to fight. And I think that the sooner that we recognize that we are stronger together and that we are in this together and that we all have good intentions for our future and our community, that is building trust and communication. Following up on the communication, I want everybody to know that we understand that there was a bit of a glitch yesterday as far as early dismissals because of the number of characters. I learned about the Page County Public School app. No, I did not know about that, and I am a school board member, so don't feel bad if you didn't know. Get that app. You can actually, develop it so it's only contacting you about your child's school. So it's a really great thing to have, and you don't have to worry about interruptions or if they have to resend things, waiting on a text message or an email. The app is right there. Just go to your app store. Just wanted to touch in on that. Thank you for parents, guardians bearing with us. And great job to our bus drivers. At the drop of the hat, they're there and they're busy in between the days. And so when they're not expecting to have to roll out 2 hours early and they're on call and they come in, I want you all to know that there are so many things that are happening behind the scenes, and you would get tired of hearing from the Page County Public School System if you knew how busy it was. But they absolutely are trying to do their best to be very transparent and to keep you all informed. And unfortunately, tragedy brings us together, and let's try to not allow that to happen. And let's just give each other some grace and work with our communication, because we are a team and our children are our future, and they're our next volunteers that we're going to need to help continue to fight for us. So thank you all for your time.
I have one alibi. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. too.
Yes. Happy spring break. Enjoy and happy
spring
Easter.
break.
Yes. All right, well, I don't really have anything I have to say. They summed it all up, and it was perfect. Although, Izzy, I do love to watch you present. You smile, and you're so happy through all of it. I'm just like, wow, I could listen to her tell me something terrible, and it would be wonderful. She's a joy. So I do love that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Shoo. And thank you. Our first responders, our staff here, Dr. Fox, everybody just did. All of you said the same thing. We are so much stronger together. I wish it didn't take something like that happening for us to realize that. And I hope, as we continue to move past this happening, we all remember that we work much better together. And if we can continue to work together, we're going to make our community stronger. I'm very excited for what we have accomplished and what we're going to accomplish. I can't thank you enough. I think our meetings have been really informative. I know they've been a little bit long, so I apologize to the poor government students that do have to come in and listen, but they have been very informative. So hopefully people watching online are getting a lot of information. That's what we want. And I do hope everybody has a wonderful spring break, a happy Easter, and go Penn State, just throw that out there. We actually are number one in the Big Ten for the first time.
I just want to make one more statement. Let's make it our motto. Together, we are stronger. Let's make that our motto for the whole county. Together, we are
Nice motto.
stronger.
I like that.
Because we did show
Yeah,
it after
yeah.
this past weekend that we all came together and everybody pitched in and did what we had to do.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Yes.
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 Yes.